wants to be there.
It's a big band show tonight.
Just can't take this damn parade. Who cares? Joe, there's a 2-mile wait to get past the damn green line.
Anyone who gets scared by a bear in the neighborhood, call Joe Murray.
I happen to trust Joe Murray.
First time I ever met Joe Murray was at a...
All right, welcome in 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray with you all night long. We have the Bruins coming up at 6:30 on the back-to-back, and then we go back-to-back. Bees win last night, shutout. Now they head to New York, take on the Rangers. Who will be in net for the Bees? We'll give you that answer coming up in just a little bit. Also, the Celtics, well, they took care of business on their 3-game road trip, and they beat the best team in the NBA. You mean the Celtics showed again that they are the best team in the NBA last night with their win. I'll tell you, when they're successful, there's one player that is certainly making an impact. The Patriots coaching staff was just announced within the last half hour or so. Couple of interesting names on there that we'll share with you. And it is Super Bowl week, and there's all this talk about a three-peat, or excuse me, Chief Pete. I think back to the old Patriots. They may have been robbed of a three-peat. Excuse me, Pat's Pete. What would I call that one? Anyways, they had a chance to do it, and someone may have gotten away with it. I might have that for you before we get out of here. We don't have much time. Opening Take is brought to you by ESPN Bet and their sportsbook. ESPN Bet Sportsbook is now the official sponsor of our leadoff take. So just to get a couple of things out of the way when it comes to the Celtics last night, they've now won 4 in a row. Mentioned that 3-game road trip took care of business. The Celtics have now won 8 out of 11 games. It's the best mark in the Eastern Conference during that time. Last night was a very good win. Right now, only 4.5 games back from Cleveland, but it was the defense last night. They had 6 blocks, 10 steals in the game. They held Cleveland to 105 points. And that was their 3rd lowest total of the year. They shot less than 40% from the field. It's a season low for them. They shot 28% from 3. It was their 3rd worst performance all year, and they had 13 turnovers. So the Celtics defense last night, and some big shots late, which we'll get to, but that was the reason why they took care of business against a team that has 40 wins to this point on the season. But it was a bad shooting night, I have to admit, for Cleveland. And I give all the credit to the Celtics for their defense and their rebounding, which in the end they dominated. They won the turnover battle. They made 9 more threes. And the bench, how about this? Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, Luke Cornett, Al Horford, big nights last night. Horford had a nice night, 13 points, 10 rebounds. The Celtics bench outscored the Cavs last night 29-3. Now, did Cleveland fight back, make it a 5-point game? Absolutely. But who's the guy who sealed the deal? When Jaylen Brown was in foul trouble and Jason Tatum continuously got double-teamed, it was Derek White. White scored 8 points on the final 3 possession of the game. So in 86 seconds, he scored 8 points last night. He finished the quarter with 14 points. He shot 5 of 6 from the field and went 4 of 5 from downtown. He also assisted on 6 of their 8 makes during that frame. Derek White in the fourth quarter last night, 14 points, 5 or 6, 4 threes. Huge night. He's now shooting 70% from the field and 67% from 3 in clutch opportunities this year. Clutch situations. Second best amongst players who've taken that many shots. The other is Amen Thompson. These guys saw him. But remember that stretch from December to January where we thought there was a funk? They went 12-10 during that stretch. You know who struggled? Derek White. 40% from the field, 34% from downtown. In the first 12 games of January, he was shooting about 37%. 30% from deep. But Derek White, he's back. Since then, he's shooting 50% from the field and 47% from three. They've gone 5-1 since he's gone on this stretch. When he averages 18 points or more from the field this year, the team's legit. They're only 7-7 when he goes under 52% from the field. So are you noticing a trend here? As Derek White goes, the Celtics are going. Every night you'll get Tatum, you'll get Brown. But when White plays to that all-star level, and he wasn't an all-star this year, although campaigned for it. As he goes, the Celtics go. Those first 19 games, they started 16-3. He was averaging 18 points a game. He had a little bit of a lull the last 24 games, averaging just about 14. Last 5 games, he's now close to 20 points per game. They're 5-0. If you use those 3 parts of the season, they started 16-3. When he struggled, they went 14-10. Since then, 5-0. It's not a coincidence, everybody. Speaking of coincidence, the Celtics now return home and they take on the Dallas Mavericks tomorrow. No word yet if Anthony Davis is going to play for Dallas in his debut. But someone has been added to the Celtics injury report. And it's Drew Holiday. Now, the Celtics did make a trade today. They moved on from Jaden Springer. And he made $4 million a year. But Springer and a second-round pick, the Celtics will acquire a future second. This is a salary dump. But it relieves the Celtics just under $16 million in tax penalties. Could someone else be next? And when I see Drew Holiday on that list, his contract over the next few years, everybody, $30 million this year, $32 next year, $34 the year after, $37 in 27-28. I can understand ownership having to make a decision. I do. But you know what I saw last night from Drew Holiday? He struggled a bit. I mentioned that Jaylen Brown led the team early on when they got out to that 15-point lead. He had 16 points, struggled in the second half because Mitchell and Garland started scoring. He had 5 fouls, and down the stretch, Joe Mazzulla sat Jaylen Brown, played Pritchard. What ended up happening? Drew Holiday took on more of a ball handling position. He had a big basket late in the game. Peyton Pritchard also helped out offensively. I think it's really hard to move on from Drew Holiday. But it's not Porzingis. It's not Brown. It's certainly not Tatum or White. If they were to make a move, and it was because of salary cap reasons, you would hope it's Xavier Tillman or someone else like that at the end of the bench. But if we're talking long-term here, it's Drew Holiday, and I just find it a coincidence that he's on the injury report today. A couple other things I wanted to just bring up regarding the Celtics, because I do want to get into some Bruins stuff coming up in a minute here. But last night, Jason Tatum was outstanding passing the basketball. He assisted on many of the threes. The 2 threes that Derek White hit to seal the game, it was on a double team. At the foul line, Max Strus covering White, goes to double team. Tatum finds him, knocks down both shots. Tatum literally was flawless at passing the basketball last night. And I wanted to just go over the last 3 games. When they played New Orleans, he had 10 assists, but he assisted on 25 total points. Against the 76ers, he had 11 assists, but he assisted on 30 total points. And last night against the Cavs, he had 7 assists, but they were on 18 assisted points, and they were late in the game. When they can find a way to use him, and he can split through the double teams, and White and Horford hit their shots, this is the best team in the NBA. They showed it last night against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Speaking of Cleveland, I still don't find them a threat. In 7 games this year against the Thunder, Celtics, or Rockets, you know what Cleveland's record is? 2-5. Yes, they beat the Celtics once. It was without Jaylen Brown. Still, I think they have flipped the switch. I think the funk is over. Let's see what happens tomorrow night as the deadline approaches against Dallas. But in just a couple of nights, it will be Celtics, New York Knicks. They've already put a couple of teams on notice. That's the game I'll look at if they have truly flipped the switch. So we'll leave it there at 617-779-0985. One thing about Jaden Springer I'll mention quickly before we go to break. I like the guy. Former first-round pick. Sam Cassell really groomed him when he was at Philadelphia. Now he's here. He's had some really good minutes. And just look at some of the struggles that the Celtics have had, right? Donovan Mitchell's gone for 30 3 times. Tyrese Maxey's gone for 30 twice. John Morant, Tyrese Halliburton, Zach LaVine. This is why you can't move on from Drew Holiday. This is why. You just lost one of your top defenders. I know he was a rotational piece, but you could play him late. He's been doing it. Maybe he was being showcased. They freed up their $15 million. Hopefully they go all in with this group. I think it would be a bad time to make a financial business decision based off potentially winning another championship. 617-779-0985. The Bruins play the Minnesota Wild last night. Tonight, they get the Rangers. Who will be the goalie in net tonight? We talked about who we thought it was last night. We have our answer. We'll tell you next. I'm Joe Murray, right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Boy.
I mean, convincing fashion the first 3 games. 11-3. Right.
As here's another shot in on Swayman, who cradles it. And the officials are going to let him drop it back into play and let the horn sound on a 3-0 shutout of the Minnesota Wild. Third of the year for Jeremy.
Three things one more time. The Celtics injury report has Drew Holiday on it. Last night I thought he played pretty well on the final stretch of the game. He didn't have a great game by any means, but late in the game without Jaylen Brown, I thought he was great. So that's on the table. They traded Jaden Springer today. He's out. The Patriots have announced their coaching staff. And I saw a couple of interesting things. Nothing crazy. I think mostly everything has been reported, but Josh McDaniels, Thomas Brown's the passing game coordinator, Doug Marone's the offensive line coach, Todd Downing. I think we knew all of these things. Jeremy Springer is back, Terrell Williams. So they have moved on from the likes of Dante Hightower, Matthew Slater, Troy Brown. Like, they're all gone. But I did see one name, Ben McAdoo, is now the senior defensive assistant. And the strength and conditioning coach, Duron Mayo. Duron Mayo's back as strength and conditioning coach. So they've gotten rid of all the Belichicks. There's still a Mayo on the staff, though. So I found those two fairly interesting. And, well, the Bruins are in action tonight. 3-0 shutout win. Jeremy Swayman, 35 saves last night. Absolutely outstanding. Last night after the game, we're talking about it. They have tonight, and then Saturday is their final game before the Four Nations, right? So wouldn't you think you play Swayman tonight again and then give him the day off on Saturday so he has a long break heading into the Four Nations? Nope. It's been announced Eunice Corpusalo will be in net tonight. I think this is an important game for the team. Like, it's back-to-back. I get it. This team used to have the identity where they can play a goalie one night and play the next one the next. They used to have that identity. They don't anymore. Let's see how it works. If I'm wrong, I'll own it after the game. You guys can join us here. I'll be here till 11 o'clock tonight. I want him back out there. I want to see this guy play consistent back-to-back, then give him the long rest that he needs. He's going to play in that tournament anyways, right? Is he there? He's there, Skaz, right? The Four Nations? Why am I losing my mind on this one? Anyways, give him some time off. Play him back-to-back. See what he has.
Yeah, Swayman should be USA's backup in the Four Nations.
Okay. So we talked about this last night. Corpusalo's in there. Think about it. Tonight and Saturday. You could have played him back-to-back and given him the rest of the time off as he goes into the Four Nations. I don't like it tonight. I want Swayman in there, not Corpusalo. They're not the team anymore that's the two-goaltender duel like it used to be. So I don't like it. I wanted Swayman in there.
Yeah, and this is something that RJ and Bob talked about last night. They thought that they might see Swayman in this one as well. So I think you're not alone in that. I just wonder if it's a quick turnaround. I almost wonder if they should have started Swayman tonight and started Corpusalo last night at home. But it's the same question we had last week with the Buffalo game and then Winnipeg. So they seem to like rotating them. Swayman had played a ton of games leading up to that Buffalo game. I think Corpusalo played only 4 of the last 18 or something like that. So it's Corpusalo's net tonight. I think a lot of Bruins fans wanted Swayman in net tonight, though.
All right, fine. Rangers, Bruins, give it to me. Like, we're here. I want to see. Last night, I talked about this with the Celtics, just at cross sports, because we can do that here. I mentioned how the Celtics win the other night when they flipped the switch. It only mattered how they played against Cleveland. And they responded. They got out to a 15, 20-point lead. They took care of business in crunch time. To me, the Celtics, their win the other night, their comeback win, meant something. Last night, the Bruins couldn't believe it, scored 3 goals and gave up 0. Like, they gave up. Imagine not giving up goals and scoring goals. Just imagine that. It meant nothing. It means nothing. If you don't win tonight against New York, you could have a 3-0 shutout at home. You can do that. But if you respond with a loss with your backup goalie, means nothing. Other ones, guys, I wanted to mention to you, Jaden Springer's out. I think we kind of thought it could happen. How about this injury report, Drew Holiday? You buying it?
No, I'm not buying it. I would be very surprised if Drew Holiday is moved at this deadline. I think it's a bad sign for the Celtics because I can't imagine the return is anything that's going to help you this year. And, you heard Stephen A. with Felger and Maz earlier, and if the NBA really is headed in this direction where teams are going to start to shed salary and these new owners don't want to give out the supermaxes left and right, the Celtics need to take advantage of this roster. You're not going to have this roster going forward, whether, who knows what new ownership is going to do. But if that's the way the league is trending, you have a massive advantage over the rest of the league right now this year with your roster. I think trading Holiday at this deadline, it doesn't get you any closer to a championship this year.
Agree. Absolutely agree. And again, last night, for those that didn't see it, Jaylen Brown didn't play down the stretch. It wasn't because of any other reason besides he had 5 fouls. And free throws. They played Pritchard, and you know who took on a bigger role? Drew Holiday. And I think he showed last night why he's important for this year's team. Although the money might be long-term, for this year, it's more important. I do find it funny around the NBA right now, though. Anyone that's been listed in a conversation of trade is on the injury report. Like Kevin Durant's on the injury report. I even think Anthony Davis is still. I know he was dealing with something at least, but did not like seeing that one. One more, guys. Did you see that Duran Mayo is back? I actually thought it was reported he wasn't back, but here it comes. They rolled it out today.
I think this is the first time in history that 2 head coaches have been, let go, fired in back-to-back seasons, but a member of their family has stayed on the staff. We had a Belichick last year, right?
Something don't smell right here. You're right. See, I heard Brian Belichick was an excellent coach.
Did you think the Patriots' conditioning was very good this year? Did they look good late in football games?
Guys, that's what... Something don't smell right there. I don't want people thinking that I'm trying to create a narrative or anything like that. Something doesn't smell right there. Finally, because we're going to hand things over to Ryan Johnson and Bob Beers. Well, if you think back at it, right? Patriots won 28-3. They lost to the Eagles and then won the next Super Bowl. Could the Patriots have won 3?